Hello and happy Friday. So today I am going to do the sprueing of these pieces that are the three stone witches pendants and pin for Sal Perez. So this is my little wax, and sprueing, this is a sprue. I will cut it to size and I'm going to mount it into this base, this rubber base. This rubber base will then be used to make a tree of these little blue pieces, and then I will put this over it. I will then make plaster of Paris, a special mix, of course. It's not just regular plaster of Paris, and that's what I'll pour over it for investing. That will then be put into the kiln, and it will burn out overnight, and then I will be able to cast metal into the void where the wax melted out, and that's how we cast, lost wax casting. So here we go, we're gonna do some sprueing. Okay, so that was sprueing. So what we just did was I took the two waxes, which we had grown on our machine. And first I removed the top ring from the one, because remember the one is going to be worn as a pin. And I took those and I added these blue sprues to them. Those are of a different kind of wax that melt at a little bit of a lower temperature and go better with the wax that we use for growing than the red wax. The red wax is what we use for the base of the sprue, and it's what I kind of use, I melt that in order to attach the blue to that. So this is what we call a tree, and this is a very small tree. Typically, if you're doing, you know, a lot of pieces, you'll fit as many of these as you can in everywhere. But the whole goal is that when we are casting, this is going to be like this, okay? And so what's going to happen is that the metal is going to go in from here, and it's going to go through, and we have to think that it needs to get to all parts of the piece, okay? So what we're doing is we're making sprues or pathways that metal can get in there. Now, I learned to sprue from Scott. Scott's a really good spruer, but he also uses more sprues and probably bigger sprues than a lot of people use. But I think that's always been the key to him doing really good castings, is that he will sometimes just sprue the living daylights out of things. I mean, sometimes something that will sprue looks like a spider, you know? And what you're trying to do, yes, that metal is wasted. However, you're also getting enough wax shot to those areas that you're going to keep all the detail and stuff. So this is basically a little sprue tree. And now this will be put on top of it. I will mix the investment, which is the plaster kind of stuff. That will be poured into it. It will harden for about an hour, and then I'll stick it into the kiln. So I'll take you through the process of investing. It's not super exciting, but we'll do that as well. So anyway, there you go. See ya. First, I apologize for that awful camera work in that last segment. So I think it was from the Ed Janiak School of Photography. So my dad had the uncanny ability to cut people's heads off when he took their photos. So anyway, sorry about that. But the information is there and you could actually see what I was doing. So, okay, so now I've got my, this is the cap that goes onto my flask. I've got my sprue and I have my pieces sprued to that sprue. Okay, so once again, what we're gonna do is we're gonna put it into the flask. It's going to go like that. All the wax is going to have burned out, and when the metal goes in, it goes in like that. So it's going to go into all the voids, okay? So this is my cap. I'm going to use this, which is a perforated flask, okay? And so the cap goes on this part. And I've already prepared the flask that I'm gonna use, and I've got masking tape on it, and that's to fill in these holes so that when I pour the plaster in, it doesn't all come out. So, and then the tape will be removed prior to putting it into the kiln, okay? So I'm gonna put this onto my cap. Okay, so now that I have them sprued, I need to weigh them so that I know how much silver to use. So there we go. Okay, this is the process. It sometimes gets a little bit sticky because you need to make sure that you are careful and that you don't touch the sides to the sprue, because a lot of times you'll end up knocking them off. In this case, I've got a really simple little item that has a couple simple little sprues, and I have plenty of room in here. So the thing is that these caps need to, they're very flexible because they're rubber, but they need to fit on there tight because obviously they're going to hold all of the plaster in there. Okay, so that's how you do it. And there are those little pieces in the flask. Next stop is investing. I'll walk you through the investing, but I'm not actually going to be able to film it because it's a one-man job here, or one-man shop here, and I have to, there's a lot involved, and I can't be moving the camera and get the investing done right, so. Okay, I'm back. This is the other reason that I can't actually film this when I am investing, because I have to wear this respirator because we're working with a super, super fine powder. So hang on. Okay, so what I said there was the other reason I can't actually film this when I'm doing it is because I'm working a super, super fine powder, so I have to wear my respirator. So I'm going to show you the tools of the trade here, though, that we're doing the investing with. So here they are in all their glory. That's rubber. It's got water in it. That's the investment all weighed out. We use distilled water. That is a fancy mixer that is dying, and I've got my new one in the wake. There's my respirator. And then I'm going to whip around here. This is the table that we use for investing, and so it's a vacuum. And then here is the cloche that goes on top of it, and that. And anyway, so essentially what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this into this. I'm going to mix it for 2.5 minutes. I'm going to whip around here. I am going to put that on here, put the cloche over it, and then I'm going to go to the 4-minute mark. And from there, I'm then going to pour it, which I will get 2 flasks. You see, I'm actually going to be casting 4 flasks, but I can get 2 flasks out of one group. And so then I'll put it in there. I'll take those and I'll put them back under here, and I'll go under a vacuum and get all the bubbles out. And that goes to the 7-minute mark, and that's it. It's done, and it sits for an hour. Here's our flask. So it has become solid plaster. And now I'm going to take the tape off and the bottom, and I'll show you that next. Okay. And here she is. So that was where the sprue, I took the bottom off. So now that's the part where I'm going to turn it upside down, and all that wax will melt out. And then when I put it in here tomorrow to cast it, that will be the void where all the metal will go in. So there she is in all her glory. And because we're only doing 4 small flasks, they go into the small kiln. So there they are in the small kiln. This is the one that we're watching here. That's A. I will close it and set the program running, and we'll see them tomorrow when it's hot.